As always, I got to ask, are we live yet, right? I'm waiting for this to tell me we're live, but if we are live instead, I want to make sure we're recording and not leaving you. Hey, there we go. We're live, and I want to welcome you to today's live Facebook broadcast from Coach Manny. And it's a training session, it's a teaching. Like always, that's what we're here for, to help bring you the best in leadership, leads, and just the best in entrepreneurial education to take you and your organization to a new level. And today we got a great um, topic on decisions. And actually, today's lesson is a chapter out of our new book. And if you look behind me, right there, and I'll bring that up a little closer in a few minutes, but I'll bring it up now. So this is our new book, and this is our new book on decision making. So please, if you haven't got your copy yet, it is out on Amazon, um, and please get a copy because we're gonna be chapter 2. You'll see what kind of flavor this is, and that's one of the reasons we're doing today's session, is just to give you a flavor for what's in there and the teaching that will help you in moving your business forward. How are you today? Are you excited? Are you pumped up? Are things moving forward? I hope they are, because they're moving forward because you're making some decisions to move forward and to make it happen. And I know you're doing that. So it's great to have you here with us today. Let me make sure we got everything correct. Yeah, there we go. All right. We want to go back to this shot. I think we like that better. So today's lesson is decision making. Can you do it? Now, I have a subtitle on there that says decisions are made by those who show up. You can't make a decision if you're not there, can you? Outstanding leaders must, and you can underline that word, have the ability and discipline to decide effectively, timely, and correctly. The reason most people never become outstanding leaders is because a plain and simple fact is, the higher you go up in an organization, the faster you need to make decisions. And usually, this is also with less information and resulting in a greater impact. And the reason we say that is, if you can't decide what to do with one or two employees, how are you going to handle it when your decision could affect hundreds or even thousands of people? You have to learn how to make a decision. If you can't manage a budget of $100,000 a year, what are you going to do when your budget is a million, 10 million, 100 million? So wherever you're growing, you've got to be able to handle that. All great leaders must be able to make decisions, whether in the home, in the business, or really any part of life. It is part of what you do. Now, how often, this is always a good question I like to ask people, is how often have you been in a meeting where everyone is discussing an issue, but no one is just willing to simply step up and make a decision? Everyone will talk about it, argue about it, and get angry about it, yet no one will just step up and say, let's make a decision here and let's move forward. Outstanding leadership requires the ability to make decisions, the willingness to put your neck here on the line, and the courage to stand up behind and stand up for what happens. Many talk about it, but few are able to do it. I have a great quote here from Joyce Meyer, who puts it simply as this, and she has a great book called 100 100 ways to simplify your life, and it says you can't drive a parked car. You see, God has only one gear, forward. Sometimes we need to do something just to keep from doing nothing. John Maxwell says it, the number one character of a good leader, the ability to make things happen. So I have to ask you, do you have that ability to make things happen? Are you making things happen in your environment? Are you making things happen? Are you making your organization move forward? And how are you effective are you at doing that? All right, so let's look at a couple of our factors. Let's look at risk. You know, when we talk about decision making, there is a risk that you have to take as a leader, putting your neck on the line. If you're unwilling to take a risk, why are you in the leadership position? And I really would like you to ask yourself that question. If I'm not willing to take a risk, should I be the leader? Leadership means taking a risk. People with a low tolerance for risk, woo, yes. Sorry. People with a low tolerance for risk should not be leading. Their inability to risk means there's fear there, and fear creates a low propensity for success. I want you just to think about that. Are you afraid of the risk? And not just that, how are you going to get rid of that? Because if you're going to be a great leader, you got to get rid of that risk, fear. Number two, second point is courage. What about courage? Courage means the willingness to stand up and take a shot. It means having the conviction you know what you're doing and actually start doing it. Think about that. Remember what Howard Hendricks says. The opposite of courage isn't cowardice, it's conformity. The English word for courage actually comes from the French word, and I'll butcher this, so don't worry about that. Coeur. C-O-E-U-R, which means heart. So, are you enjoying today's teaching? Is this what the kind of stuff that you need to move your organization forward? Again, please take a look at our new book. If you go out on Amazon, type in Manny Nowak, you will find all our books out there. We have a lot of education. Our new decision-making book. Let me grab that from our backdrop here. Make a decision. Will you please? This book is many, many years of background in decision making, and I dedicated it to the guy who taught me more about that than anyone else, Nate Konecki, because he was a great mentor of mine in my 20s when I learned how to make a decision. So please get a copy of that. Make a decision, will you please? And you can see kind of the picture we chose there. A lot of things go through your mind when you're trying to make a decision, don't they? They just kind of get you rolling. So CoachManny.com is the website. Please check us out there, and let's get to some more teaching today, because I want to share with you today 7 points for you to think about related to decision making and related to your ability to make better and stronger and more powerful decisions that will help take you, your business, your life, your career, your family, all that forward. So let's go through them. Number one is you got to be willing, or you must be willing, to move forward without all the information. Now, just think about that. So many times you're in a position and you know you got to make a decision, and you hesitate and you wait for more information. Is that really what you should be doing? Or should you be finding a way. How do I get more information to make this happen? So you got to be willing to move forward without having that information. You got to make a decision right now and just keep going. And I know some of you out there, I always, when I teach this, in live sessions, I always get argument, but many, we can't. We have to wait. Well, sometimes you just can't wait. So think about that. Number 2, you must be able to handle the flack that occurs because of the decision you make. Now, a lot of people hesitate at times to make decisions because they don't want all the flack. They don't want everything coming at them. They don't want to be the person that gets bombarded with stuff. But guess what? You're the leader, and that's part of life, and that's part of what you have to deal with. And making decisions like that is just part of what you have to do. So get used to it. Get yourself a flak jacket, right? Put that sucker. I used to have one in here, but I don't have one. Get a flak jacket and put it on, and that way you'll be guarded, right? Flak is just part of making decisions. So remember, when you're making decisions, sometimes you don't have all the information. You still got to make decisions. Sometimes there's going to be a lot of flack based on your decision because it's unpopular. Okay, well, life goes on. Number 3. You might have to be unpopular in the short term. That's just the way it is. Remember, leadership isn't about being the most loved person. It's about being the most respected. And I can tell you, in the long term, respect. And you know what? Isn't that terrible when you sit there and you forget to turn your phones off, right? And I thought I had everything cut off. I really apologize for that one. But let's go back to the point. You might have to be unpopular in the short term. That's just the way things go. You'll make it. In the long term, you get the respect and people will follow you anywhere. Trust me, that is a true fact. What do you think? Are you the leader? You are. Number 4, you must have conviction about the decision you're making and the willingness to stand up for it. And you say, wow, yes. And the willingness to stand up for it, sometimes the conviction is, I have to do this because it's the right thing, even though so many things can get in the way. You got to have that conviction. You're making a decision and you have the willingness to stand up to it, because sometimes you're going to be called to the carpet. I'm used to getting called to the carpet. That's why one of the things you'll find in the book is we really talk, and I was really taught that it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. Long before that became popular, my mentor Nate always said that. Hey, easier to ask forgiveness than permission. So I want you to keep that in mind. If you really have the conviction, you got to move forward. I hope this teaching is helping you, because we wrote this book, just so you know, and we're teaching on decision making because so many people that I talk to all the time at seminars and network all over the place say, when are you going to write a book about decision making? We need help. People can't make decisions. So that's why the book came out. Number 5, time's not always on your side. And you might have to decide right now. Do you realize that? Time, it may just blow right by you. Time may not be on your side. And you still have to make a decision. And I know some of you out there who are listening are probably saying, I know, Manny, I've been there, I've done that, and I didn't like it. But you got to be quick. One of the things I learned from Nate was how to make a decision. One of the things I learned in the Marine Corps was sometimes you got to make a quick decisions. One thing you learn in life is you have to make decisions because sometimes that hesitation can cost you way more than you want to pay. Number 6, you must be able to handle the impact of the decision. And the impact may affect people's lives, and it may affect people's lives beyond your comfort zone. And one of the things that we talked about is things can really go beyond your comfort zone. Think about that. And you've got to be able to handle those things. And it might affect people's lives in ways that you just don't feel comfortable. Especially if you got to fire somebody, and if you've never fired anybody, or if you fired people, the effect, and sometimes you don't know the real effect, but how hard that is. You can affect people's lives. Maybe you have to lay people off, and especially during this, we're in the COVID time now still, right? Your decisions could have a major effect on people's lives. You have to get used to that, and it's all part of being a leader, and it's all part of making decisions. Number 7, it might be the wrong decision, and you have to be able to move on. Wow. I want you just to think about that for a moment. It might be the wrong decision. Wow. What are you doing? I think that's so critical to us all. We can make wrong decisions, and that's one of the things that hesitation always comes in there, because I could make the wrong decision. What do I do then, Manny? You make another decision to correct it. That's the way I was taught. And that, you got to make the decision, and as long as you're making decisions, you're moving forward. And as long as you're moving forward, things are happening. You see, outstanding leaders make decisions when they have to make them. Plain and simple. If you want to be outstanding, and then you work on getting better each and every day in making decisions. The bottom line, as told to me by my great mentor Nate, was just make a decision now. If you're wrong, then you'll just have to make a decision to fix it. Stop holding back. And I know many of you are thinking, that's easy for you to say, Manny, but in real life it doesn't work that way. But it does. Decision making is so critical. I want you to get a copy of the book. We go through a lot of stuff in this book, and there's some painstaking stuff in here that from my own life. That's why we wrote this book, because we want you to learn how to make decisions better, faster, and more effectively, because many of you out there want to grow. You want to become that leader. You want to create that company. You want to make it happen. And to do that, you have to learn how to get better at decision making. Today's session was really out of chapter 2 in the book. Now you see the kind of stuff that we're putting together in there. And with whether you're watching this on a podcast, or you're watching it live on Facebook, or you're watching a YouTube video, doesn't matter. It's always about making the right decision. I hope you've enjoyed it. I love being here. We're here Friday at noon. Last week we were early because we had some stuff going on. This week we're back to the noon. We try to get here every Friday at noon. It's great to be with you. I want to tell you, have a super week. Get a copy of the book and get out there and start making some decisions, will you? And yes, think about it, but you got to move forward. This is Coach Manny, and remember our website, CoachManny.com. All the stuff's out there. Anything you need. We're going through some great stuff. One of the things we teach people is the 5 keys to effective business, and I just recap them really quick for you. You got to have the right people in your organization. You got to have visibility to the right information. You got to have the right marketing. You got to have the right automation, and you got to have the right leadership. And you put those 5 pieces together, success will be yours. Thank you for being here with me today. CoachManny.com. I will see you next week. Have a great one.